In the small village of Brookhaven, nestled in the rolling hills of England, life had always moved at a gentle pace. The village, with its cobbled streets and quaint cottages, seemed immune to the tumultuous events that shook the world. But as the year 1914 dawned, the whispers of war reached its quiet corners. Eleanor Collins, a bright-eyed young woman of 20, lived in Brookhaven with her widowed mother. She had spent her days working at the local inn, dreaming of a world beyond the village's confines. Her life, simple and serene, took a sharp turn when her childhood friend, Thomas Bennett, enlisted in the army. Thomas was a year older and had always been Eleanor's confidant. The day he left for the front lines, the village seemed to hold its breath, and Eleanor's heart felt like it had been cleaved in two. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. The letters from Thomas, filled with his lively spirit and optimism, provided a glimmer of hope. Eleanor treasured each one, reading them by the fireside as she imagined the landscapes he described: trenches, distant battles, and skies of gray. One letter, however, was different. It arrived in a plain envelope, the usual cheerful banter replaced by a tone of somber reflection. Thomas spoke of the harsh realities of the war, his words painting a vivid picture of the mud, blood, and loss. The final lines of the letter were a plea. "If I don't make it back, remember the promise we made long ago. Keep the stars in our hearts." Eleanor held the letter tightly, tears streaming down her face. The promise they had made was a childhood vow, to always find the beauty in the world, no matter how dark it became. Months turned into years, and the war dragged on. Eleanor continued to run the inn, her days filled with the routine of serving weary soldiers and refugees. She did what she could to support the war effort, but her heart remained tethered to the distant battlefields. Then, in the summer of 1918, a letter arrived that carried a different kind of news. Thomas had been injured, but was recovering. The news was a balm to Eleanor's aching soul. She read the letter over and over, each time finding a small flicker of hope. The war finally ended in November, and the village of Brookhaven rejoiced. Soldiers returned, and among them was Thomas. He walked with a limp but carried a spirit that was unbroken. The reunion was bittersweet, filled with gratitude and sorrow for those who had fallen. Thomas and Eleanor met at the village square, where the air was filled with the scent of autumn and the soft hum of celebration. They embraced, and for a moment, the world seemed to stand still. Thomas, his eyes reflecting the light of the setting sun, spoke softly. "Eleanor, I didn't know if I'd make it back. But I kept our promise, holding onto the stars in my heart." Eleanor smiled through her tears. "And I kept them too, waiting for this moment." They walked together, side by side, as the village celebrated around them. The world was not yet whole, but for Eleanor and Thomas, there was a quiet hope. In the midst of the remnants of war and the promise of peace, they found a new beginning, one where the beauty of life could be cherished once more. And so, in the quiet village of Brookhaven, with the echoes of war fading into the distance, Eleanor and Thomas began to rebuild their lives. Their story, marked by loss and hope, became a testament to the enduring power of promises and the light of stars that guide us through the darkest times.